The train was 3 hours late, which meant she'd been standing there long enough to understand. Hope was the cruelest currency a woman could carry. Montana Territory, 1887. Where the sun didn't warm, it accused. Where the platform wood remembered every arrival, every rejection, every woman who'd stepped off believing in promises made by strangers 2,000 miles away. Linnea Hartwell stood alone with her canvas bag and her one good dress, already ruined. The townspeople had scattered an hour ago. Smart people. People who knew when to stop waiting. She stayed. Because leaving meant deciding, and deciding meant admitting she'd traded 4 years of blood and stale bread for this. Abandonment on a wooden platform at the edge of the world. Then he appeared. Not the man she'd come for, someone else entirely. A stranger who crossed the street like he'd been expecting her. Like he'd known all along that hope was just the first part of the story. The dangerous part came after. The train was late, 3 hours late, which meant Linnea Hartwell had been standing on that platform since noon, with her one good dress and her one canvas bag and the kind of hope that makes you stupid. She was 25 years old. She had been waiting her whole life. The September sun beat down on the Montana Territory like it had a personal grievance. The platform wood was hot enough to smell. Pine tar and old tobacco and the particular scent of a place where people arrived but didn't always stay. Linnea didn't move. Her hands hung at her sides. Not clasped, not fidgeting, just there. The way you hold yourself when falling apart isn't an option. Because falling apart requires privacy, and privacy stopped being a luxury at age 12. The other passengers had scattered into town an hour ago. She remained, bag at her feet, dress pressed before the journey. Ruined now, wrinkled beyond salvation. But her spine was straight, her chin level. The kind of posture that says I'm still here even when every part of you wants to disappear. Because she had spent 4 years in a Boston textile mill. 12-hour shifts. Fingers bleeding from the looms. Saving every penny that didn't go to the boarding house or the stale bread or the shoes that fell apart every 6 months. 4 years to save. $67. $67 for the train ticket west. To a man named Silas Whitaker who had filed a contract with the matrimonial agency. Who had written exactly 3 letters. Polite, formal. Promising a home, a life. Children someday if God willed it. The photograph he sent showed a man with good teeth and a decent hat. Linnea hadn't cared about the teeth. She cared about the word home. Because home was something she hadn't had since she was 8 years old, and her parents died of the fever, and the church sent her to the orphanage where the nuns meant well, but there were too many children and not enough of anything else. So yes, she had signed the contract. She had spent her last coin on the ticket. She had traveled 2,000 miles on hard benches and stale air and the company of strangers who didn't look at her twice. And now she stood on a platform in Montana Territory, waiting for a man who was 2 hours late. Make that 3, the sun shifted. A woman in a blue dress walked past with her husband. Glanced at Linnea, looked away. The look that says, I know what you are, and I'm glad I'm not you. Linnea's jaw tightened. She didn't look away. At 4:30, Silas Whitaker finally appeared. He came from the direction of the saloon, which should have been the first sign. He was shorter than the photograph suggested. Thinner. The good teeth were still there, but they were set in a mouth that looked like it had been practicing bad news for weeks. He stopped 10 feet away, held a folded paper in one hand. The contract. Linnea knew what it was before he said a word. Miss Hartwell, his voice carried. Loud enough for the platform. Loud enough for the woman in the blue dress who had stopped at the far end to watch. Loud enough for the 2 men outside the feed store and the boy with the wagon and the entire town that would hear about this by supper. Linnea said nothing. Because she already knew. You don't spend your whole life being unwanted without learning to recognize the moment when someone confirms it. I can't go through with it, Silas said. Louder than necessary. like he was giving a speech, like he wanted witnesses. The photograph was, he paused, looked at her the way you look at a horse that turned out lame. It was misleading. The platform held its breath. Somewhere a horse stamped. A door creaked shut. Linea's hands stayed at her sides. Not shaking, not yet. I'm too old, she said. Flat, stating a fact, not a question. Well, Silas shifted his weight. Not just that. Too plain? I wouldn't say. You just did. His face flushed. Good. Let him be uncomfortable. Let him stand here in front of these people and say the thing out loud. Let him own it. I'm releasing you from the contract. He waved the paper once, like it mattered. Like the paper was the problem. You're free to go. Free. The word landed like a stone in deep water. Free to go where? Free to do what? Free with 67 cents in her pocket, and a train ticket that was used up, and a bag that held 2 dresses and a book and nothing else. Free. Linnea looked at him. Really looked. At the sweat on his collar. The way he couldn't meet her eyes for more than a second. The way his hand shook, just slightly, when he folded the contract back up. He wasn't cruel. He was just a coward, which somehow made it worse. All right, she said, that was all. Because what else was there to say? Please? She'd stopped begging at age 9. Why? She already knew. How could you? Men like him did this every day and slept fine. Silas blinked, like he'd expected tears. An argument. Something? He got nothing. He turned, walked away. Didn't look back. The platform stayed quiet for exactly 4 seconds. Then the whispers started. Linnea stood there for an hour after he left. Not because she was frozen. Not because she didn't know what to do next. But because moving meant, deciding, and deciding meant acknowledging that this was real. That she had come 2,000 miles for nothing. That the last 4 years of bleeding fingers and stale bread, sleeping in a room with 7 other women, had led to this exact moment. Standing alone on a platform in Montana territory, with nowhere to go, the sun dropped lower. The shadows grew long. The town spread out in front of her. One main street. False front buildings. A church steeple. Mountains in the distance, going purple with the evening, beautiful. She hated it. That's when she saw him, the man who would change everything. He came out of the hardware store across the street. Tall, broad in the shoulders, 30-something. Wearing work clothes that had seen better days and a hat that shaded his face, he carried a paper bag of something. Nails, maybe. Fittings. He stopped on the boardwalk. Just stopped. And looked at the platform, at her. Linnea looked back. For 3 seconds they just stood there. The street between them, the late sun turning everything gold and red. 2 strangers with no reason to know each other. Except he didn't look at her the way Silas had. Like a disappointment, like a problem. He looked at her like he was reading a book he'd already finished, and was deciding whether to recommend it. Then he crossed the street. His boots on the dirt made no sound, but somehow she heard him anyway. Felt him. The weight of his attention. He stopped at the bottom of the platform steps. Looked up at her. She didn't move. Callan Stone, he said. Not a question, just an introduction. His voice was low. The kind of voice that didn't waste words. I've got 2 children, a house that needs keeping. I do carpentry work 3 days a week down in town. Mornings you'd have the place to yourself. Linnea stared at him. What? It's temporary, he continued, still looking at her. Not at the ground, not at the distance. At her. Room and board until you've sorted what's next. The platform wood creaked under her feet. Her bag sat there like an accusation. This was insane. This man was a stranger. This was how women disappeared. Why, she said. Because you need help, he said. Simple. Like it was obvious. And I need help. Seems efficient. Not kind. Not charitable. Efficient, something in her chest unlocked slightly. Can you cook? He asked. The question hung there, can you cook? Not are you respectable. Not what are your references. Not why did that man leave you standing here. Can you cook? Linnea looked at this stranger with his worn clothes and his carpenter's hands, and his steady gaze that didn't flinch. She could say no, she could walk into town, find the church, beg for help, end up in another orphanage or another mill, or another place where she was a burden, or she could say yes to a stranger and risk everything on the chance that this was help and not a different kind of trap. I can, she heard herself say, and I'm not afraid of hard work. His mouth almost smiled. Almost. Then let's go, he said. She picked up her bag. Her legs moved without permission, down the steps, across the platform, into the street where he waited. Behind them the town watched, stored it up for later. Linnea didn't look back. They walked to the livery in silence. Colin moved with the particular economy of a man who'd been carrying weight for so long. He didn't notice anymore. Not rushed. Not slow. Just steady. He paid the stable boy. Led out 2 horses. A gray gelding and a smaller bay mare. You ride, he asked. Some. She lied. She'd sat on a horse exactly twice in her life. Both times she'd fallen off. He looked at her. One eyebrow raised slightly. I'll manage, she said. He handed her the reins to the bay. Her name's Clover. She's steady. Just hold on and she'll follow mine. Linnea gripped the reins, looked at the horse. The horse looked back with the expression of an animal that had seen worse riders and lived to tell about it. Colin swung up onto the gray, like he'd been born there. Settled into the saddle, looked down at her, waiting. Right. Linnea put her foot in the stirrup, hauled herself up. Clover shifted but didn't bolt. Small mercies. She settled into the saddle, bag tied behind her, hands gripping the horn like her life depended on it, which it might. Callan clicked his tongue. The gray moved forward. Clover followed without being asked. They rode out of town, heading east, toward the mountains. For the first 30 minutes, Callan said nothing, which was fine. Linnea had nothing to say either. Her thighs already hurt. Her back ached. Clover's gait was smooth enough, but every step reminded Linnea that she had just gotten on a horse with a complete stranger and was riding toward a destination she knew nothing about. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. This was how women ended up in shallow graves. The town fell away behind them. The road turned to trail. The trail turned to a path through pine forest that smelled like sap and dirt, and something wild she didn't have a name for. The sun dropped lower. The shadows grew teeth. Linnea's hands ached from gripping the saddle horn. After an hour, Callan stopped near a creek. Water the horses, he said. Swung down. Efficient. Linnea tried to dismount gracefully. Failed. Stumbled. Caught herself on Clover's neck. Colin didn't comment. He led his horse to the water. Stood there, watching the trees. Listening, Linnea led Clover over. The mare drank. Linnea knelt beside her, cupped water in her hands. Drank. It tasted like metal and moss and was the best thing she'd had in days. How much further, she asked. Another hour, he said. Maybe 90 minutes. Depends on the light. Another hour, in the dark. In the forest with a stranger, Linnea's pulse ticked up. Callan glanced at her. You're safe. How would I know that? You wouldn't, he said. Honest. But I'm telling you anyway. You're safe. The children are safe. The house is decent. And if you decide you want to leave, I'll take you back to town myself. She looked at him. He looked back, no smile, no reassurance. Just the plain truth laid out like lumber. Take it or leave it. Linnea stood, wiped her hands on her dress. All right, all right, all right, he nodded. Mounted the gray again. They rode on. The cabin appeared just as the last light died. It sat in a clearing carved out of the forest. Pine logs. Stone chimney with smoke rising, a small barn to one side, a chicken coop, a woodpile that looked like it could survive 3 winters. Ballad. Built by someone who knew what they were doing. Callan dismounted, tied the gray to a post. Came around to help Linnea down. She didn't need help. She took it anyway. Because her legs were shaking, and she wasn't sure they'd hold. He caught her elbow. Steady. Didn't let go until she was stable. Thank you, she said. He nodded. The front door opened. A boy stood there. 10 years old, maybe. Brown hair. His father's build already showing in the shoulders. Face that looked like it had forgotten how to trust anything. He stared at Linnea, didn't say a word. Ash, Callan said. This is Miss Hartwell. She'll be staying for a while. Ash's jaw tightened. He looked at his father. Then at Linnea. Then back at his father. Then he turned and walked back into the house. Slammed the door. Linnea winced. He'll come around, Callan said. Sound convinced, and if he doesn't? Then we'll manage anyway. He picked up her bag. Walked to the door. Opened it, waited. Linnea took a breath, stepped inside. The cabin was bigger than she expected. One main room, kitchen along the far wall, table in the middle, 2 chairs, a workbench near the window with tools hung neat and tidy, a potbelly stove doing its work. The smell of wood smoke and coffee and something cooking that might have been beans, clean, orderly, clean, from discipline. Not help, a man living alone with children. To the left, a door. Closed to the right, another door. Open. A bedroom visible beyond. That's yours, Callan said. Nodded to the right. Your own door, your own space. Children eat at 6. I eat when I'm back from work. Linnea walked to the doorway. Looked inside. Small room, bed, chair, window with a view of the trees. A blanket folded on the bed that looked hand-stitched. Clean, thank you, she said. Don't thank me yet. He set her bag down inside the door. You might change your mind after a week. I might, she agreed. He almost smiled. Almost. That first supper was beans and cornbread in silence. Linnea cooked, because that's what she here for. That's what he'd asked. Can you cook? She found the larder. Sparse, beans, flour, salt pork, coffee, cornmeal. Enough to survive, not enough to thrive. She worked with what was there, made the beans edible, made the cornbread not taste like sawdust. Made coffee that didn't strip paint, set it on the table. Ash sat at the far end, arms crossed. Scowling, a smaller child appeared from the bedroom. A girl 6 years old, maybe 7. Dark hair in 2 braids, one ribbon tied properly. One just hanging. She stood in the doorway watching Linnea with eyes that were too old for her face. That's Briar, Callan said, soft. The first time his voice had changed all day. Briar. Come meet Miss Hartwell. Briar didn't move. Linnea crouched down. Slow, the way you approach a wild thing. Hello, Briar, she said. Gentle. Are you hungry? Briar considered this seriously. Like it was a test question. A little bit, she whispered. Come help me find the bowls. Briar looked at her father. Callan nodded. Briar came forward. Small steps. Suspicious. Showed Linnea where the bowls were, where the spoons lived, where the napkins hid. She didn't smile, but she helped. They ate in silence. Ash glared at his plate. Briar kept her eyes moving between her food and Linnea in steady rotation. Callan ate with the focus of a man who'd been working all day. Linnea ate because not eating would be noticed. The beans were good. The cornbread was decent. The coffee was drinkable. Nobody said anything until Ash pushed his plate away and stood up. Ash, Callan said. What do you say? Ash looked at Linnea, jaw tight, eyes hard. Thank you for supper, Miss Hartwell. The words came out like broken glass. He turned, walked to his room, shut the door, not quite a slam, but close. Briar looked at her plate. Linnea looked at Callan. He sighed. I'm sorry. Don't be, she said. He doesn't know me. He doesn't trust me. That's reasonable. Still nothing. She stood, started clearing plates. He'll come around or he won't. Either way, I'm here to help. Not to be liked. Callan watched her. His jaw loosened slightly. You're tougher than you look, he said. I've had practice. She washed the dishes in silence. Behind her, Briar stood near the table, watching. When Linnea finished, she dried her hands. Turned around, Briar was still there, holding a wooden doll, carved, detailed, beautiful. Did your papa make that? Linnea asked. Briar nodded. It's lovely. Briar looked at the doll, then at Linnea. Do you want me to braid your hair properly? Linnea asked. Soft. The ribbon came loose. Briar touched the hanging ribbon, looked at her father again. Callan nodded. If you'd like. Briar came forward. Linnea sat in the chair. Briar stood in front of her. Linnea's fingers worked the ribbon loose, smoothed the hair, rebraided it proper, tied the ribbon again, neat, even. Briar touched it, didn't smile, but something in her face softened. Thank you, she whispered. You're welcome, Linnea said. Briar ran to her room. Callan stood near the stove. Watching. You're good with her, he said. She's easy to be good with. Ash is harder, I noticed. He'll test you. I'm counting on it, Linnea said. Looked at him. Children need to know you won't disappear the first time they're difficult. He's been disappointed before. He needs to see I can take it. Callan stared at her. What? She said. Nothing. He shook his head. Just. You're not what I expected. Neither are you. They stood there in the lamplight. Two strangers in a cabin at the edge of the world. Good night, Miss Hartwell, he said finally. Good night, Mr. Stone. She went to her room, closed the door, sat on the bed. Her hands were shaking now. Now that no one could see, she'd done it. She'd survived the first day. Outside, the forest made its night sounds. Inside, the cabin settled into silence. Linnea lay down, closed her eyes. And for the first time in 4 years, she didn't dream about the mill. Morning came too early. The rooster screamed at dawn like it had a personal vendetta against sleep. Linnea dragged herself out of bed. Her whole body ached. Riding, she'd forgotten about the riding. Her thighs felt like someone had beaten them with a board. Her back seized up when she stood, brilliant, splashed water on her face from the basin, braided her hair, looked at herself in the small mirror. Exhausted, rumpled, but standing good enough. She opened the door. Callan was already in the kitchen making coffee. He glanced at her. Morning, morning. Her voice came out rough. Sleep all right? Like the dead. He almost smiled, poured 2 cups. Handed her one, she took it. Wrapped her hands around the warmth. What time do you leave for work? She asked. Hour, he said. I'll be back by 4. Ash is supposed to do his schoolwork. Briar helps with the chickens. There's mending in the basket by the window if you're looking for something to do. I'll find something, he nodded. Drank his coffee. Set the cup down. Walked to the door. Stopped, Miss Hartwell? Yes, the front step, he said. It's loose. Mind it when you go out? I'll mind it. He left. The door closed behind him. Linnea stood in the kitchen holding her coffee. Alone, in a stranger's house, with 2 children who barely knew her. This was fine. Everything was fine. Set down the cup. Looked at the front step, through the window. Loose, right. By the time Ash emerged from his room, Linnea had the fire going, and oatmeal cooking and the coffee reheated. He stopped when he saw her, like he'd forgotten she existed, or hoped she'd disappeared overnight. Morning, she said neutral. He grunted, sat at the table, didn't look at her. Briar came out, a minute later, rubbing her eyes. Hair a mess, ribbon gone. Good morning, Briar, Linnea said. Gentle morning, Briar whispered. Come here. Let me fix your hair before breakfast. Briar came, stood in front of her. Linnea finger-combed the tangles, braided it quick, tied it with a bit of twine since the ribbon was missing. There, she said. Beautiful. Briar touched the braid, smiled. Smiled a little, but it was there. Ash made a noise. Linnea ignored him. Breakfast was oatmeal with a drizzle of honey she found in the back of the cupboard. Briar ate hers quietly. Ash ate half of his, pliffed the bowl away. I'm not hungry, he said. That's fine, Linnea said. Didn't argue. Wrap it up. You can have it later. He blinked. What? Wrap it up, she repeated. Calm. There's cloth in the drawer. You can take it with you when you do your chores. I don't want it later. Then don't eat it later, she said. But you're not wasting it. Wrap it up, he stared at her, testing. Waiting for her to back down, she didn't, just looked at him. Steady, after 10 seconds, he stood, got the cloth, wrapped the oatmeal, set it on the counter. Hard, happy, he said. Ecstatic, she said. Deadpan. Briar giggled. Ash's mouth twitched, just slightly. Then he grabbed his coat and went outside. Slammed the door. Linnea sighed. He's not always mean, Briar whispered. I know, honey, Linnea said. He's just scared. Scared of what? Scared I'll leave. Briar looked at her, with those 2 old eyes. Will you, Linnea? Crouched down. Took Briar's small hands in hers. I'm going to stay as long as your papa needs me to, she said. I'm not going anywhere right now. All right? Briar nodded. All right. The morning passed in work. Linnea swept the floors, washed the dishes, found the mending basket, sat by the window and worked her way through a pile of torn shirts and holey socks. Briar played quietly in the corner with her doll. Ash did his schoolwork at the table, or pretended to. Mostly he stared at the pages and scowled. At noon, Linnea made sandwiches. Ash ate his outside, Briar ate hers. At the table, Miss Hartwell, Briar said. Soft, yes, honey. Are you going to marry Papa? Linnea's needle stopped. Oh, no, sweetheart, she said. Gentle. I'm just here to help for a little while. But the other lady, Briar, Ash appeared in the doorway. Voice sharp. Stop asking questions. I'm just... Stop. Briar's face crumpled. Linnea stood. Ash, she's 6. She's allowed to ask questions. Not about that, he said. Hard. About what? About Mama. His voice cracked. She's not allowed to talk about Mama. Oh no. Linnea's chest tightened. I'm sorry, she said. Soft. I didn't know. I wasn't trying to. Just don't, Ash said. Turned. Walked out. The door didn't slam this time. It closed quick. Somehow that was worse. Linnea looked at Briar. The little girl had tears on her face. Come here, honey. Linnea said. Briar came. Linnea held her. Let her cry. Didn't ask questions. Just held on that afternoon. Linnea went outside to check on Ash. Found him near the woodpile. Chopping, or trying to. The axe was too big for him. He swung it like he was angry at the wood. Missed, swung again. Hit the log split crooked. He swore. Linnea cleared her throat. He spun around. What, you need help? No, you sure? Because that axe is. I said no. He dropped the axe, glared at her. I don't need your help. I don't need you here. Papa's wrong. We don't need anyone, Linnea crossed her arms. You done? He blinked, I said. Are you done? She repeated, calm. Because I've got work to do and you're wasting daylight throwing a tantrum. His face flushed. I'm not, you are, she said. And that's fine. You're angry, you're scared. You miss your mama. That's all fine. But the wood still needs chopping. The chickens still need feeding. And your sister still needs someone to braid her hair. So you can be angry at me all you want. But you're going to do your chores. Understood? He stared at her, jaw working, fists clenched. Then he picked up the axe. Understood. He bit out. Good, she said. Turned to leave, Miss Hartwell. She looked back. The step, he said, not looking at her. It's loose, I know. Someone should fix it. Yes, she said. Someone should. She went back inside. At 4 o'clock, Callan came home. He opened the door, stopped, stared at the front step. It was fixed, nailed down, level, secure. He looked up. Linnea was in the kitchen, stirring something on the stove. He came inside, set down his tools. You fixed the step, he said. I did. How? I found a hammer and nails in your workbench, she said. I hope that's all right. He didn't answer right away. Just looked at her, then at the step, then back at her. Yes, he said finally. It's all right. He walked to the counter, poured himself coffee, poured a second cup. Left it on the counter near where she was working. Didn't say anything. Didn't need to. Linnea glanced at the cup, then at him. He was already walking away, but something in his shoulders had changed, loosened. Just slightly. She smiled to herself, stirred the stew. And for the first time since she'd stepped off that train, Linnea Hartwell felt like, maybe this could work. The days found their rhythm. Colin left at dawn. Linnea cooked breakfast. Ash scowled and tested. Briar watched and waited. The chickens got fed. The laundry got done. The cabin got cleaner. On day 3, Ash ignored her instructions about bringing in firewood. Linnea found him in the barn. Ash, she said. Calm. The firewood, I was getting to it, I know, she said. Get to it now, please. He looked at her, held her gaze, looking for something. Whatever he found, it wasn't what he expected. He stood, brought in the firewood, stacked it neat. She thanked him, plain, no fuss. He almost smiled. Almost. On day 4. Briar asked Linnea to read her a story. They sat on the floor near the stove. Briar pressed against Linnea's side, warm, trusting. Linnea read about a princess and a dragon and a knight who was actually just a very clever baker. Did the voices. didn't feel embarrassed. Briar laughed. The sound filled the cabin like light. Across the room, Ash sat at the table with his schoolwork. He didn't look up, but he didn't leave either. And when the story ended, he said, "That's a stupid story." "Why?" Linnea asked. "Because bakers can't fight dragons." "Why not?" "Because they just can't." "But what if the dragon was allergic to flour?" Linnea said. "Serious. Then a baker would be very useful." Briar giggled again. Ash's mouth twitched. "That's still stupid," he said. But he was almost smiling. On day 5, Callan came home and found Linnea teaching Briar how to knead bread. The little girl's hands were covered in flour. Her face was covered in flour. The table was covered in flour. She was laughing. Callan stopped in the doorway, stared. Linnea looked up. "Sorry about the mess?" "Don't be," he said. Voice rough, he set down his tools, walked to the counter, stood there for a long moment, just watching his daughter laugh. Later that night, after the children were in bed, he found Linnea washing dishes. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For that." He nodded toward Briar's room. "She hasn't laughed like that since." He stopped. "Since a long time." Linnea dried her hands. "She's a good kid, they both are, I know." He looked at her, really looked. "You're not what I expected when I saw you on that platform," he said. "What did you expect?" "Someone broken. I am broken," she said. "Honest. I'm just good at holding the pieces together." He nodded slowly. "Aren't we all?" On day 6, it rained rain that turned the world gray and cold. Ash had to stay inside, which meant he was restless, which meant he was picking fights, with Briar, with the furniture, with the air itself. Linnea let him, for about an hour, then she handed him a bucket and a rag. "What's this for?" he asked. "The floor," she said. "It's muddy. Clean it. That's not my job." "Yep, it is now," Papa said. "Papa's not here." She said, "Calm, I am. And I'm saying, clean the floor. You want to be restless. Be restless scrubbing." He glared at her. She glared back. Fine. He grabbed the bucket, stomped to the floor, started scrubbing hard. Angry, but he did it. An hour later, the floor was clean. Ash was exhausted. "Calm." He set the bucket down, looked at Linnea. "Happy now?" he said. "Ecstatic," she said. Same tone as before. He almost laughed. Went to his room. Didn't slam the door. Progress. On day 7, Callan came home at the same hour as always, 4 o'clock. He'd been doing it all week. Linnea noticed, before she'd arrived. Ash had mentioned Papa sometimes didn't come home until dark. Now he came home at 4, every day. Same time. She was setting the table when he walked in. "Evening," he said. "Evening," she replied. He hung his coat, washed his hands, sat at the table. Brick climbed into his lap without asking. He held her easy, natural. Ash sat across from them, quiet but present. Linnea brought the food, stew, bread, coffee. They ate together. As a family almost. That night after the children were asleep, Callan found Linnea on the porch. She was sitting on the step, the fixed step, looking at the stars. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. "It's your porch." He sat beside her. "Not close, but not far. They like you," he said. "Briar likes me," Linnea corrected. "Ash tolerates me. That's more than he's done for anyone else." She looked at him. "There were others?" "A few," he said. "None of them lasted more than 2 days. Ash made sure of that." "What did he do?" "Put a frog in one woman's bed, hid another woman's shoes. Told the third one that I was secretly a cannibal." Linnea laughed, actually laughed. The sound surprised them both. "A cannibal?" she said. "He was very convincing," Callan said. Deadpan. She left before breakfast. Linnea laughed harder. Callan smiled. A real smile, the first she'd seen. It changed his whole face. "You're good with them," he said after the laughter faded. "They're good kids. They're difficult kids. They're grieving kids," she corrected. "There's a difference." He looked at her. "You lost someone too," he said. "Not a question, everyone," she said. "Simple. Parents at 8. Then the orphanage. Then the mill. Then Silas. I'm very good at losing people. I'm sorry. Don't be," she said. "It makes me good at finding them too." They sat in silence. The stars wheeled overhead. The forest rised around them. "Miss Hartwell," he said finally. "Yes, thank you." he said, for staying. You're welcome, Mr. Stone. He stood. Went inside. She stayed a while longer, looking at the stars. Thinking this was temporary. This wasn't her home. These weren't her children. But for the first time in a very long time, Linnea Hartwell felt like maybe, just maybe, she could build. Build something here, something that mattered. She stood, went inside, closed the door, and slept. The first snow came early November, and already the mountains were turning white. The white that meant winter was coming. And winter didn't care if you were ready. Linnea woke to frost on the window. Her breath made clouds in the cold air. She dressed fast. Layers. Everything she owned. Still cold. The cabin was quiet. Too quiet. She opened her door. Callan was already up. Already dressed. Already at the stove building up the fire. Morning, he said. Didn't look at her. Morning. She wrapped her arms around herself. Is it always this cold? This is nothing, he said. Wait until December. Brilliant. She moved to help with breakfast. Their routine, now, 3 weeks in, and they moved around each other like dancers who'd learned the steps. She reached for the coffee. He handed her the pot before she asked. She started the oatmeal. He set out the bowls. No words needed, just movement. Ash stumbled out of his room looking like a very angry hedgehog. Hair everywhere, eyes half closed. Scowling at the world, morning, sunshine. Linnea said. He grunted progress. A month ago that grunt would have come with a slammed door. Briar appeared next. Already dressed. Hair already braided. She'd done it herself. Crooked, but she'd done it. Look, Miss Hartwell, she said, proud. I did it myself. I can see that, honey. Linnea crouched down. Very nice. Do you want me to fix it a little? Briar nodded. Linnea's fingers worked the braid loose. Started over. Neat. Even Briar leaned into her. Warm, trusting, something in Linnea's chest tightened. This was dangerous, because Briar was getting attached. And so was she. She tied off the braid. There, she said. Perfect. Briar hugged her. Quick, fierce, then ran to the table. Linnea stood slowly. Found Callan watching her. What, she said. Nothing. He turned back to the fire. Just. She's attached to you, I know. That's going to make it hard. When you leave, the words landed like stones. I know, Linnea said again. After breakfast, Callan didn't leave for work. He stood at the window instead. Looking at the sky, what's wrong? Linnea asked. Weather. Storm coming. Big one. How can you tell? The air, he said. The way the birds are moving. The way the horses are acting. He turned to face her. I need to go into town. Get supplies before the storm hits. Could be a week or more before the roads are clear again. All right. I'm taking Ash with me, he said. He needs to learn the route. In case something happens to me. Linnea's stomach dropped. In case something happens to me, said so casually, like it was a real possibility. Which in the mountains it probably was. How long will you be gone? She asked. Most of the day. He looked at Briar, then at Linnea. You'll be all right here? Just you and Briar? We'll be fine, he nodded. Didn't look convinced. Ash, he called. Get your coat. We're going to town. Ash appeared. Actually excited for once. Really? Really? The boy's face lit up. He grabbed his coat, his boots, his hat. Callan handed him a list. You're in charge of remembering what we need. Think you can handle that? Yes, sir. Sir, Linnea had never heard Ash call his father sir before. Something warm bloomed in her chest. Callan looked at her one more time. We'll be back by dark, he said. Earlier if the weather turns. Be safe. He almost smiled. Always am. They left the door closed. The cabin fell silent just. Linnea and Briar, and the coming storm. By noon, the wind had picked up. The trees outside bent and swayed. The sky turned the color of old bruises. Briar pressed against the window, watching. Where's Papa? She asked. In town, Linnea said. He'll be back soon. Before the storm? Before the storm, she hoped. They spent the afternoon baking, bread navakut ones. Anything to keep busy. Anything to keep the worry quiet. Briar stood on a chair, helped measure flour, helped stir, got more flour on herself than in the bowl. Logged. The sound filled the cabin. But underneath it, Linnea kept listening, for hoofbeats, for the door, for Callan's voice. Nothing. The wind got louder. The light got dimmer. 4 o'clock came, no Callan. 5 o'clock, still nothing. 6 o'clock, the first snowflakes started to fall. Briar stood at the window. Not laughing anymore. He'll be here, Linnea said. More to herself than to Briar. He said by dark. It's not dark yet, but the snow. I know, honey. What if they're lost? They're not lost. Linnea crouched beside her. Your papa knows these mountains better than anyone. He'll be here. Promise? Linnea's throat tightened. Don't promise. Don't promise things you can't control. I promise, she heard herself say. They came home at 7. Linnea heard the horses before she saw them. She ran to the door. Threw it open. Snow swirled in. 2 shapes materialized out of the white Callan and Ash, covered in snow, moving slow, tired. Save. Thank God. Linnea breathed. Callan looked at her. Told you we'd make it. You're late. Storm came faster than I thought. He swung down from the horse. Stiff. Help me with the supplies. Ash was already moving. Grabbing bags from the saddle, Linnea grabbed the rest. They hauled everything inside. Callan took the horses to the barn, came back 10 minutes later, covered in more snow. Shaking, not from cold, from exhaustion. Sit, Linnea ordered. I'll get coffee. He sat, didn't argue. Ash collapsed into the other chair. Briar climbed into her father's lap. You're freezing, Papa. I'll warm up. He held her close. We made it. That's what matters. Linnea brought coffee, hot. Strong. Callan wrapped his hands around the cup. Thank you, he said. You're welcome. Their eyes met, held. Something passed between them. Something neither of them named. The storm lasted 4 days. 4 days of snow piling up outside. 4 days of being trapped in the cabin. 4 days of closeness that hadn't existed before. On the first day, they played cards. Briar didn't know the rules, so Linnea taught her. Ash pretended not to care, but he watched every move. Callan won 3 games in a row. You're cheating, Ash accused. I'm not cheating, Callan said. Serious. I'm just better than you. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Callan said, then smiled. But I'll let you win the next one. I don't want you to let me win, then beat me fair. Ash's jaw set. He studied his cards. Played carefully, won. His face lit up. See, Callan said. Told you, you let me win. I didn't, you did. Believe what you want, Callan said. Stood. Ruffled Ash's hair. The boy didn't pull away. Linnea's chest tightened again. This was the danger. Not the cold, not the storm. This feeling like they were a family when they weren't. On the second day, they told stories. Briar started. Something about a princess and a dragon who became friends. Ash told one about a hunter who outsmarted a bear. Callan told one about the first winter he'd spent in the mountains. Young, stupid, unprepared. I nearly froze to death, he said. Holed up in a cave for 3 days. No food, no fire. Just me in the cold. How'd you survive? Ash asked. Stubbornness, Callan said, and luck. A trapper found me on the 4th day. Took me to his cabin, fed me, taught me how to do it right. Where is he now? Dead, Callan said. Simple, 5 years ago. But I named this place after him, Stone Mountain. That was his name. Thomas Stone. Linnea looked at him. You took his name. He gave it to me. Callan corrected. He didn't have family. I didn't have anyone, so he made me his family. Left me this land when he died. That's a good story, Briar said. It's a true story, Callan said. Looked at Linnea. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you're born to. The words hung in the air. Heavy true. Linnea looked away first. Your turn, Ash said to her. Tell us a story. I don't have any good ones. Everyone has stories. Linnea hesitated. Then she told about the orphanage. About the nuns who meant well. About the girl who'd shared her bed and stolen half her bread and become her best friend. About the day that girl got adopted. About how Linnea had been happy for her and devastated both at once. What happened to her? Briar asked. I don't know, Linnea said. Honest. I never saw her again. That's sad, it is, Linnea agreed. But that's how life works sometimes. People come into your world, they matter. Then they leave. And you keep going. Callan looked at her, really looked. You're stronger than you think. He said, I have to be, she said. On the third day, the children got restless, cabin fever. Ash picked fights with the furniture. Briar whined about everything. Linnea sent them to their rooms. But we didn't do anything, Ash protested. You're breathing too loud, Linnea said. Go read a book, both of you, they went grumbling. But they went. Callan watched from his workbench. Breathing too loud? He said they were driving me insane. He laughed, actually laughed. The sound was low. Rough. Unexpected beautiful. Linnea stared at him. What? He said. Nothing. She shook her head. I've just never heard you laugh before. I laugh. Not like that. He looked at her. His eyes softened. You're good at this, he said. At what? Being a mother. The word hit her like a fist. Mother. She wasn't a mother. She was temporary help. Rowan and board, that's all. I'm not. She started. You are, he interrupted. Gentle. Whether you mean to be or not. They see you that way. Briar especially. Don't, Linnea said. Don't say that. Why not? Because I'm leaving, she said, hard. Remember? That was the deal. Temporary. Until I figure out what's next. And have you? He asked. Figured it out.
Closed it. Because the truth was no.
She hadn't figured out anything, except that she didn't want to leave, which was the most dangerous thought of all. I'll figure it out, she said finally. He nodded, went back to his carving, didn't say anything else. But something had changed. The air felt heavier, the silence felt louder, and Linnea felt like she'd just lost something she'd never actually had. On the fourth day, the snow stopped. The sun came out. The world turned blinding white. Callan opened the door. Looked at the drifts. We'll need to dig out, he said. How long will that take? Most of the day. Linnea grabbed her coat. I'll help. You don't have to. I know, she said. I'll help anyway. They worked in silence, shoveling snow, clearing paths. Ash helped until he got tired. Then he went inside to keep Briar entertained. Just Linnea and Callan, working side by side. Their breath made clouds in the cold air. After an hour, Linnea's arms burned. Her back ached. Her hands were numb. She kept going. Because stopping meant thinking and thinking, meant feeling and feeling, meant acknowledging that something had shifted between them. Something she wasn't ready to name. Linnea, Callan said. She looked up. He'd been calling her Miss Hartwell for 3 weeks. Now it was Linnea. Just like that, take a break, he said. Gentle. I'm fine. You're shaking, she looked at her hands. He was right, come on. He set down his shovel. Inside. Warm up, they went in. Callan made coffee, handed her a cup, their fingers brushed. Just for a second. But it was enough. Linnea pulled back. Too fast, Callan noticed. Of course he noticed. I should check on the children, she said. Set down the cup. Untouched, walked to her room. Closed the door. Leaned against it. Her heart was racing. This was bad. This was very bad. Because somewhere in the last 3 weeks, she'd stopped thinking of this as temporary. She'd started thinking of this as home, and that was a mistake. Winter settled in for real. The days got shorter. The nights got colder. The work got harder. But the cabin got warmer, not from the fire, from the people inside it. Ash stopped testing Linnea. Started trusting her instead. Did his chores without being asked. Helped Briar with her reading. Called her Miss Linnea now. Not Miss Hartwell. Linnea. Briar followed Linnea. Everywhere helped cook, helped clean. Helped with everything. Chattered constantly, lawed easily. One afternoon, Briar was setting the table. She stumbled, caught her foot on the threshold, went down hard on both palms. The sound she made was sharp. Startled before the tears, Linnea came down to the floor with her before the tears started. Took both small hands in hers, looked at the palms. Red, not bleeding, but red. You're all right, Linnea said. Calm. Steady. You're all right. Let me see. She held Briar's hands warm, gentle, not making a fuss, not going anywhere. Briar looked at her, eyes wide wet. And then she said it, Mama. The word went into the cabin, didn't leave. Linnea's breath stopped. Her hands stayed where they were, holding one breath no more. Then she gathered the girl in, held her, let her cry, calm, certain, giving no outward sign of what the word had done to the room. But inside she was breaking, because this wasn't her child, this wasn't her home. Except it didn't feel that way anymore. Callan was in the bedroom doorway. He'd heard it. He stood with one hand on the frame, looking at the hallway floor, not moving. Something was happening in him. Something he wasn't ready to face. Because his daughter had just called another woman mama, and part of him was relieved, and part of him was terrified, and part of him was something else entirely, something that felt like hope, which was dangerous. Hope had teeth. He went back into his room, sat on the edge of the bed, hand flat on his knee, stayed there while the moment settled around the house. At the table, Ash had gone still, 11 years old. He knew exactly what he'd heard. Exactly what it meant. His mother was dead, had been dead for 2 years. And now his sister was calling someone else mama. He should be angry. He should feel betrayed. But he'd watched Linnea for 8 weeks. Watched her cook, watched her clean, watched her fix his sister's hair and his father's shirts and the broken latch on the chicken coop, watched her never complain, never quit, never leave, even when he'd been awful to her, especially when he'd been awful to her. And something in his face that had been shut for 2 years, something hard, something locked, started working slowly toward open. He walked to where Linnea held Briar, crouched down, put his hand on his sister's back, said nothing. But the gesture said everything. I'm here. We're here. This is all right. Linnea looked at him. Ash looked back, nodded once. She nodded back. That night, after the children were asleep, Callan found Linnea on the porch, Egan. She was sitting on the step in the cold, no coat, just sitting there, shaking. You'll freeze, he said. I know. Come inside. In a minute, he sat beside her instead, took off his coat, draped it over her shoulders. She pulled it close. Thank you. They sat in silence. The stars wheeled overhead. The forest breathed. She called you Mama, Callan said. Finally, I know. How do you feel about that? Linnea laughed. It came out broken, terrified, she said, because this isn't real. This isn't my life. I'm temporary help. Remember? Maybe you don't have to be. The words hung between them. Heavy. Impossible. Linnea looked at him. What are you saying? Callan took a breath. Let it out slow, I'm saying. He started. Stopped. Started again. I'm saying the children love you. And he paused. And I'd like you to stay. Permanently, as my wife. If you're willing, the world tilted. Linnea stared at him. You're proposing, I'm proposing. We've known each other 8 weeks, I know. You don't love me. I don't know you well enough to love you yet, he said. Honest. But I respect you, I trust you, and I think, given time, love could grow. Linnea's hands were shaking. I need to think about it, she said. That's fair. How long do I have? As long as you need. She nodded, handed him back his coat. Good night, Callan. Good night, Linnea. She went inside. He stayed on the porch looking at the stars, wondering if he'd just made the best decision of his life, or the worst. Linnea thought about it for 4 weeks. 4 weeks of watching Callan with his children. 4 weeks of feeling Briar's small hand in hers. 4 weeks of seeing Ash smile more. 4 weeks of this cabin feeling more like home than anywhere she'd ever been. On a gray December morning, she found Callan in his workshop. He was carving something. Small, delicate. A bird. That's beautiful, she said. He looked up. It's for Briar. For Christmas, she'll love it. He set down his knife. You've decided, he said. Not a question. Yes, she said. I'll marry you. Something in his face changed, softened. Why? Because, she said. Took a breath. Because I see what you're building here. And I want to be part of it. As a partner, he stood, walked to his workbench, opened a drawer, pulled out a small wooden box. Handed it to her. Linnea opened it. Inside. A ring. Silver sipple, beautiful. You made this, she breathed. The week you arrived, he said. Before I knew if you'd stay. Before I knew if I'd have the courage to ask. She looked at him. Put it on, he said. She did. It fit perfect. We'll marry in the spring, he said. Give you time to be sure. I'm sure now. Give yourself time anyway, he said. Gentle. This is forever. You should be certain. She nodded. Spring. Then, he smiled. She smiled back. And, for the first time in her entire life, Linnea Hartwell felt like maybe she was exactly where she was supposed to be. They went to town in February. All four of them call. Lon needed supplies. Linnea needed fabric to make new dresses for Briar. The children the children just needed to see something other than trees. They rode in on a clear, cold morning. The town looked the same. The platform where Linnea had been rejected 4 months ago. The hardware store where Callan had first seen her. The street where everything had changed. They tied the horses outside the general store, went inside. The shopkeeper's wife looked up, saw Linnea. Her eyes widened. Miss Hartwell, she said. Mrs. Patterson. Linnea nodded. I heard you were staying with Mr. Stone. I am. The woman's eyes dropped to Linnea's hand, saw the ring, her eyebrows rose. Well, she said. Congratulations. The word came out flat, judgmental. Linnea's spine straightened. Thank you, she said. Cool. Callan put his hand on the small of her back. Light. But there, they shopped in silence. Fabric for briar, seeds for spring planting, coffee, flour, sugar. The basics. They paid, left. Outside a woman was waiting, tall, thin. 60-something. Well-dressed Mrs. Whitaker, Silas's mother. Linnea's stomach dropped. Mr. Stone, the woman said. Miss Hartwell, Mrs. Whitaker. Callan said. Polite. Cold. I heard the news. The woman said, looked at Linnea's hand. You're engaged. We are, Linnea said. How modern. Mrs. Whitaker's smile didn't reach her eyes. Living together before marriage. The children must be confused. The children are fine, Callan said. Are they? The woman looked at Ash and Briar. Poor things. First they lose their mother. Then their father brings home a stranger. And now they're expected to call her mama. It's unseemly. Linnea's hands clenched. With respect, Mrs. Whitaker, she said. Voice steady. What happens in our home is none of your concern. It becomes my concern when it affects the moral character of this town. The moral character, Linnea repeated. Tell me, where was your concern for moral character when your son left me standing on that platform? When he humiliated me in front of half the town? When he broke a contract and walked away without a second thought? Mrs. Whitaker's face flushed. That was different. How? Silas had every right to change his mind, and I had every right to survive, Linnea said. Mr. Stone gave me a chance when no one else would. He offered me dignity when your son took it away. So forgive me if I don't care about your opinion of my moral character. The street had gone quiet. People were watching, Agan, always watching. Mrs. Whitaker's jaw tightened. You'll regret this, she said, both of you, living in sin. Raising those children in that godless cabin. Mark my words, this will end badly. She turned, walked away. Linnea's hands were shaking. Clun touched her elbow. Let's go, he said. Quiet. They gathered the children, loaded the supplies, rode out of town. Halfway home, Callan stopped by the creek. Everyone down, he said. Rest the horses. They dismounted. Ash and Briar ran to the water. Through stones, Linnea stood by Clover, shaking. Not from cold, from rage. You all right? Callan asked. Fine, you're shaking. I said, I'm fine. He looked at her. That woman was wrong, he said. How we're living, it's no one's business but ours. But what if she's right? Linnea said, turned to face him. What if the children are confused? What if we're making a mistake? Are they confused? She looked at Ash and Briar lawing, playing. Happy. No, she admitted. Then there's your answer. She took a breath. Let it out. I'm sorry, she said. I hate that woman. I hate that she made me feel small. She didn't make you feel anything, Callan said. You let her words matter. Don't. He was right. She knew he was right, but it still hurt. That night, Callan knocked on her door. Come in, she said. He opened it, stood in the doorway. "I've been thinking," he said. "About?" "About what Mrs. Whitaker said." "About appearances?" Linea's stomach dropped. No, he wasn't going to change his mind. He wasn't going to. "We should marry sooner," he said. She blinked. "What?" "Spring is 3 months away," he said. "That's 3 more months of people talking. 3 more months of the children hearing things. I don't want that. So what are you saying?" "I'm saying we should marry now," he said. "Next week. This week if we can get the pastor up here. That's fast, I know. You're sure?" "Are you?" She looked at him. This man who'd saved her. This man who'd offered her dignity. This man who'd asked her to stay. "Yes," she said. "I'm sure," he smiled. "Good," he said. "I'll ride to town tomorrow. Talk to the pastor, Callan, yes?" "Thank you," she said. "For this. For everything. Thank me after," he said. "Marriage is hard work." "I'm not afraid of hard work, I know," he said. He left. Closed the door. Linnea sat on the bed, looked at the ring on her finger, and smiled. The pastor came on a Thursday. A small man with kind eyes and a gentle voice. He rode up to the cabin in the afternoon. Callan had cleaned the whole place, top to bottom. Linnea had baked bread, made coffee. Put on her one good dress. The children were scrubbed clean. Hair combed, excited and nervous. The pastor married them in the front room, by the fire. No witnesses except the children. No music except the wind. No flowers except the winter pine. Perfect. Do you, Callan Stone? Take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold, to honor and to cherish, in sickness and in health. For as long as you both shall live? I do, Callan said, his voice steady, his eyes on Linnea. Do you, Linnea Hartwell, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold, to honor and to cherish, in sickness and in health, for as long as you both shall live? Lena took a breath. I do. Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Callan stepped forward, took Linnea's face in his hands, gentle, careful, kissed her, soft, brief. But real when he pulled back, his eyes were bright. Mrs. Stone, he said. Mr. Stone, she replied. Briar squealed. Ash smiled. A real smile. The pastor laughed. And just like that, Linnea Hartwell became Linnea Stone. That night, they celebrated. Small, yet Callan had bought a chicken in town. Linnea roasted it, made potatoes, made gravy, bread, apple pie with the last of the preserved apples. They ate together, a family. Real now. Leligal, permanent after dinner. Briar climbed into Linna's lap. Are you really our mama now? She asked. If you want me to be. Linnea said. I do, Briar said, fierce. I want you to be our mama forever. Then I will be. Ash looked at her from across the table. Forever, he asked. Quiet, forever. Linnea promised. He nodded, satisfied. Later, after the children were in bed, Linnea stood at the window, looking at the stars. Callan came up behind her. Regret? He asked. None, she said. Turn to face him. You? None. We barely know each other. We'll learn, he said. We have time, do we? We have all the time in the world. She leaned into him, just slightly. He put his arm around her. They stood like that, watching the stars. Two strangers who'd decided to build a life together. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a fairy tale. But it was real, and real. Real was enough. But real wasn't enough for the town. 2 weeks after the wedding, Callan went to town alone, to sell his carvings, to buy supplies, to do what he always did. He came back 3 hours later. Fugslick Stone. What happened? Linnea asked. He set down the supplies. Didn't look at her. Callan, what happened? Silas was there, he said finally. Linnea's stomach dropped. And he's not letting this go. What do you mean he's not letting this go? Linnea asked. Callan sat at the table, heavy, tired. He's claiming the contract is still valid, he said, legal and binding. Says you owe him a year of service or the equivalent in money. That's insane. That's the law, Callan said. Looked at her. Territorial law recognizes mail-order bride contracts as binding agreements. You signed it. He paid the agency. Legally, you're obligated. The room tilted. But I married you, doesn't matter, he said. The contract predates the marriage. He filed a complaint with the territorial judge. There's going to be a hearing. Linnea sat down, slowly. Her legs wouldn't hold. When? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. What happens if? If the judge sides with him? Callan's jaw tightened. Then you fulfill the contract. 1 year of service in his household. Or we pay him back. How much? $127. Linnea's breath stopped. $127 loss. They didn't have that. Nobody on a mountain had that. What if we can't pay? She whispered. Callan looked at her, said nothing. But his eyes said everything. If they couldn't pay, if the judge ruled against them, she'd have to go. For a year. Leave the children. Leave Callan. Leave home. No, she said. No. I'm not going back to him. We'll figure something out. How? I don't know yet. He stood, paced. But I'll find a way. I promise. Linnea watched him. This man who'd saved her once already. Who was trying to save her again. But this time saving her might cost him everything. That night Linnea couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house breathe, listening to the children sleep, listening to Callan move around in his room, also not sleeping. $127. Where would they get that kind of money? Callan's carvings brought in maybe $5 a month. Good months. Winter months were less. They had $30 saved. Maybe, if that. They needed almost 100 more. And 2 weeks to find it impossible. Unless she did it herself. She sat up, pulled on her robe, went to the kitchen, found paper and pencil, started writing. In the morning, she found Callan at the stove making coffee, moving, slow, exhausted. I have an idea, she said. He looked at her. What kind of idea? I'll work, she said. To pay off the debt, Linnea. Listen. She set the paper on the table. There's a seamstress shop in town. Mrs. Patterson mentioned she needs help. I can sew. I can do alterations, mending. If I work 6 days a week for 6 months, I can make the money. Callan stared at the paper. 6 months, yes. In town, yes. Away from here, away from the children, yes. He pushed the paper back. No, Callan. I said no. He stood. I'm not sending you away. That's not happening. Then what's your plan? She asked. Because I don't see another option. I'll find one. How? I don't know, he said, frustrated. But I'm not letting you go work for 6 months to fix my mistake? Your mistake? She stood too. This isn't your fault. This is Silas. This is me signing that stupid contract. This is me not having enough money to protect my own wife, he said, voice rough. That's what this is. The words hung between them. True. Linnea's anger softened. Callan, she said. Gentle. This isn't about protection. This is about survival. And sometimes surviving means doing hard things. Not this hard. Why not? Because he looked at her. Really looked. Because you just got here. Because the children just started trusting you. Because He stopped. Because what? She asked. Soft. He turned away. Because I need you here, he said finally. Is that what you want to hear? I need you here. The children need you here. This is your home, and I'm not letting some entitled, spoiled, small-minded coward take that away. Linnea's chest tightened. Then help me fight, she said. Let me do this. Let me work. Let me earn the money. And when it's done, when the debt is paid, I'll come home. For good, he looked at her matching. Promise? Promise. He took a breath, let it out slow. 6 months, he said. 6 months. And then you come home. And then I come home. He nodded, defeated, but accepting. When do you leave? End of the week, she said. I need to talk to Mrs. Patterson, set things up. Find a place to stay in town. You'll stay at the boarding house, he said. I'll pay for it, Callan. I'll pay for it, he repeated. Firm. That's non-negotiable, she nodded. All right. Telling the children was worse. So much worse. They sat them down that evening. After supper, after the dishes were done, Briar was playing with her doll. Ash was reading. Both of them content saves. Happy. Kids, Callan said. We need to talk. Briar looked up. Ash closed his book. What's wrong? He asked. Smart kid. He knew something was wrong, Miss Linnea. Callan started. Stopped. Your mama. She needs to go to town for a while. Briar's face fell. Why? To work, Linnea said, kept her voice steady. To earn some money we need. How long? Ash asked. 6 months. The number landed like a stone. Briar's eyes filled with tears. That's forever, she whispered. It's not forever, honey, Linnea said. Moved to kneel in front of her. It's just for a little while, and I'll visit every week, and you can write me letters. And before you know it, I'll be back. But why do you have to go? Briar asked. Did we do something wrong? No. Linnea pulled her close. No, sweetheart. You didn't do anything wrong. This is grown-up business. Boring grown-up business. But I have to go. Just for a little while, Briar cried silent. Heartbreaking. Ash stood, walked to his room, closed the door, didn't slam it. But the closing was loud enough. Callan looked at Linnea. This is a mistake, he said. No, she said. This is survival. 3 days later, Linnea packed her bag, the same canvas bag she'd arrived with 4 months ago, a lifetime ago. She folded her 2 dressel, her sewing kit. That was all. Everything else, everything that mattered, stayed here. Briar wouldn't let go of her, clung to her skirts, cried. Please don't go, Mama, she said, over and over. Please don't go. I have to, sweetheart, Linnea said, voice breaking. But I'll be back. I promise. Ash stood in the doorway, arms crossed, fox stone. You promised you wouldn't leave, he said. I'm not leaving, Linnea said. I'm going to work. For a little while. That's what she said too, he said. Our real mama, she said she'd be back. And she never came back. The words hit like fists. Ash, Callan said. Sharp. That's enough. It's true, Ash said. She left. And now you're leaving too. I'm coming back, Linnea said. Firm, I promise you. I'm coming back. Everyone says that, he turned. Walked out, slammed the door. This time it was a slam. Linnea closed her eyes. He'll understand, Callan said. Eventually, will he? He has to. She picked up her bag, looked around the cabin. Her home. For 4 months. The only real home she'd ever had. Let's go, she said. Before I change my mind. The ride to town was silent. Linnea sat behind Callan on the gray, arms around his waist, pressed into his back, trying not to cry. Failing, he didn't say anything, just rode steady. His hand came down once. Covered hers, squeezed. She squeezed back. That was all. They reached town by noon. The boarding house was on the east side. A tall, narrow building, clean, respectable, run by Mrs. Catherine Brennan, 60 years old. Kind eyes, work-worn hands. She met them at the door. Mr. Stone, she said. This must be your wife. Yes, ma'am, Callan said. Linnea Stone. She'll be staying with you for the next 6 months. Working at the seamstress shop, I heard. News traveled fast. Of course it did. Small towns, everyone knew everything. Yes, ma'am, Linnea said. Well, Mrs. Brennan opened the door wider. Come in. Let me show you your room. Callan carried Linnea's bag. They followed Mrs. Brennan upstairs. 2nd floor, 3rd door on the left, a small room, bed, chair, desk, window overlooking the street, clean, plain, lonely. Meals are at 7, noon, and 6, Mrs. Brennan said. No men in the rooms, no noise after 9. Any questions? No, ma'am, Linnea said. Thank you. Mrs. Brennan left, closed the door. Linnea and Callan stood in the small room. Well, he said. Well, she echoed. I'll come every week, he said. Bring the children. We'll have lunch. All right, and you'll come home for Christmas, Callan. Christmas is 9 months away. Then you'll come home before that, he said. Stubborn. You'll come home whenever you can. I will, she promised. He set down her bag, turned to face her. I hate this, he said. I know, I hate that I can't fix it. You're fixing it, she said. By letting me do this, he pulled her close, held her. Tight, she held him back. They stood like that for a long time, until the light started to fade. Until he had to go. Until the mountain called him home. I love you, he said. The words shocked them both. He pulled back, looked at her. I know we haven't said it, he said. I know it's fast, but I do. I love you. And I need you to know that. Before I leave, Linnea's eyes filled. I love you too, she whispered. He kissed her. Soft, deep, desperate. Then he left, the door closed. Linnea stood in the empty room and cried. The seamstress shop was small. 2 rooms, front room for customers, back room for work. Mrs. Patterson ran it with the efficiency of a general and the warmth of a stone. "You'll work 6 days a week," she said. 8 to 6, Sundays off. "I'll pay you $20 a month." $20. 6 months, 120. "Almost enough. I'll need 25, Linnea said. Mrs. Patterson's eyebrows rose. "Excuse me?" $25 a month, Linnea repeated. "Or I'll find work elsewhere." It was a bluff. There was no work elsewhere. But Mrs. Patterson didn't know that. The older woman studied her. "You're good?" she asked. "I'm excellent. We'll see," Mrs. Patterson said. 22. And not a penny more. 24, 23. Final offer. Linnea held out her hand. Deal. They shook. The work was hard, harder than the mill. Harder than the cabin. Because at the mill, she'd just been a body, doing mindless work. At the cabin, she'd been needed. But loved here. Here she was just labor. Mrs. Patterson didn't care about her story. Didn't care about her reasons. Didn't care about anything except the quality of the stitching. Which was fine. Linnea could do quality. She worked. Mending, adulterations, new dresses for the wealthy women who came through. Her fingers flew, neat even. Perfect. Mrs. Patterson watched, said nothing. But the next day she gave Linnea the complicated jobs, the difficult customers, the impossible deadlines. Linnea did them all, without complaint, without mistake. After a week, Mrs. Patterson pulled her aside. "You're better than I thought," she said. "Thank you. Don't let it go to your head," the woman said. "You're still on trial," but her voice was softer. And the next week, she paid Linnea $24 instead of 23. The weeks blurred together, stitch by stitch, dollar by dollar. September became October. October became November. November turned cold. Callan came every Sunday. Like clockwork, rode in at noon, brought the children. They had lunch at the diner. Briar sat on Linnea's lap the whole time. Wouldn't let go. Ash sat across the table. Quiet, watching. Testing, waiting to see if this time she wouldn't come back. Every week she proved him wrong. Every week she was there, waiting, smiling. After lunch they walked down the main street. Past the shops, past the church, just walking. Together, pretending they were a normal family. Pretending this was normal. At 3 o'clock they had to say goodbye. Briar cried. Every time, Ash didn't cry. But his eyes got bright, and he hugged Linnea tight before pulling away. Callan kissed her. "One more week?" he'd say. "One more week." She'd echo, then they'd ride away. And Linnea would go back to her room and cry. 3 months and halfway done. Linnea had $72 saved. She needed 55 more. 2 more months. Maybe less. She could do this. She was doing this. On a Tuesday afternoon, the bell above the shop door rang. Linnea looked up from her sewing. A woman walked in, tall, elegant, familiar, Mrs. Whitaker. Linnea's hands stilled. "Mrs. Whitaker," she said. "Neutral, Mrs. Stone," the older woman said, looked around the shop. "So, this is where you've ended up. Can I help you with something?" "I need a dress altered," Mrs. Whitaker said, pulled a bundle from her bag, set it on the counter. "The hem needs taking up. The waist needs taking in." Linnea stood, examined the dress. "Sybil work, an hour. Maybe 2. When do you need it?" "Friday." "That's fine." Linnea made a note. "It'll be ready." Mrs. Whitaker didn't leave. She stood there watching. "You know," she said, finally, "when I heard you were working here, I didn't believe it." "Why not?" "Because I thought you'd run," the woman said. "I thought you'd disappear rather than face the consequences of your actions." "What actions?" Linnea asked. "Surviving?" "You signed a contract." "I did," Linnea agreed, "and I'm paying it off. Legally, honorably." Mrs. Whitaker's lips thinned. "My issue," she said, "is that you humiliated my son, rejected him publicly, married another man, and now you're acting like you're the victim." "I am the victim," Linnea said. Calm. "Your son left me on a platform with nothing. No money, no place to go, no options. I'm sorry if the truth humiliates him. But that's not my problem. You're poisoning this town. How? By pretending your arrangement with Mr. Stone is respectable, Mrs. Whitaker said. Everyone knows you were living in sin before the wedding. Everyone knows you're only married to avoid scandal. Lynia's hands clenched. I married Callan because I love him, she said. And he loves me. And we're building a life together. A real life. With real children who need real parents. If that bothers you, if that somehow offends your delicate sensibilities, then I suggest you take your dress and your opinions and leave. Mrs. Whitaker stared at her, shocked. Silent then something shifted in her face, softened. You really love him, she said. Yes, the woman nodded slowly. My son, she said, quiet. He's weak. I know that. I've always known that. When he left you on that platform, I was ashamed. But I didn't say anything. Because he's my son, and mothers protect their children. Even when they're wrong, Lynia said nothing. But I've been watching you, Mrs. Whitaker continued. These past 3 months, working, visiting, your family, never complaining, never breaking. And I realize, you're stronger than all of us. I'm not strong, Lynia said. I'm just stubborn. Mrs. Whitaker almost smiled. Perhaps that's the same thing. She picked up the dress. Keep it, she said. I don't need it altered. Then why? Because I wanted to see you, the woman said. I wanted to see if the rumors were true, if you were really as remarkable as people say. She walked to the door, paused. For what it's worth, she said. I'm glad you found each other. You and Mr. Stone. You deserve happiness. Both of you, she left. The bell rang. Lynia stood alone in the shop, staring at the door. That just happened. 5 months in, 1 month left. Lynia had $115 saved. She needed 12 more, 2 more weeks, maybe 3, so close. She could taste it. On a Sunday, Callan and the children came as usual. But something was wrong. Lynia saw it the moment they walked into the diner. Callan's face was tight. Ash looked angry. Briar looked scared. What happened? Lynia asked. Callan waited until the children were seated. Then he leaned close. Silas, he said. Quiet. He's pushing for the hearing to happen now. Claiming we've delayed long enough, but I'm almost done, Lynia said. I have the money. Almost all of it, he knows, Callan said. That's why he's pushing. He wants the hearing before you can pay him off. Lynia's blood went cold when? Friday, 4 days, Callan. I only have 115. I need 127, I know. So what do we do? He looked at her. His eyes said everything. They were out of options. Out of time. Out of luck. We go to the hearing, he said. We bring what we have. We argue our case. And we hope the judge is reasonable. Hope? They were pinning everything on hope. Brilliant. Friday came too fast. The territorial courthouse was a simple building. Wood frame, 2 rooms. 1 for hearings. 1 for the judge. Lynia wore her best dress. Callan wore his only suit. They looked respectable. They looked scared. Because they were. Silas was already there, sitting in the front row with his lawyer. A thin man with sharp eyes and a sharper smile. Mrs. Whitaker sat behind him, but she didn't look at her son. She looked at Lynia and nodded. Once the judge entered, everyone stood. Be seated, the judge said. Judge Harrison, 60-something, gray beard, tired eyes. He'd been judging territorial disputes for 30 years. He'd seen everything all right. He said, let's get this over with. Mr. Whitaker, your complaint? Silas's lawyer stood, Your Honor. My client filed a legal and binding contract with Miss Hartwell, now Mrs. Stone, through a reputable matrimonial agency. The contract stipulated 1 year of companionship in exchange for passage west and living expenses. I've read the contract, the judge said. Get to the point. The point, Your Honor, is that Mrs. Stone violated the terms. She accepted the passage, accepted the expenses, then refused to fulfill her obligation because your client rejected her, the judge said, publicly. On the train platform, my client exercised his right to humiliate a woman in front of half the town, the judge said. Is that the right you're referring to? The lawyer's jaw tightened. My client changed his mind. That's his prerogative, and Mrs. Stone found alternative arrangements, the judge said. That's her prerogative, not legally, Your Honor. The contract. I know what the contract says, the judge interrupted. Mr. Stone, do you have anything to add? Callan stood, Your Honor. My wife has been working for nearly 6 months to pay off this debt. She's earned $115. We're $12 short. If you could give us one more week. No, Silas said. Stewed. No more delays. The contract says 1 year of service or full payment. Not partial payment. Full payment. Sit down, Mr. Whitaker. The judge said. Silas sat. The judge looked at Linnea, Mrs. Stone. Stand up, Linnea stood. Her legs shook. Did you sign this contract willingly? The judge asked. Yes, Your Honor. Did you understand the terms? Yes, Your Honor. And did you accept passage and expenses from Mr. Whitaker? Yes, Your Honor. The judge nodded, then legally. You're obligated to fulfill the terms. He looked at Callan. Unless your husband can pay the full amount today. We're $12 short, Callan said. $12. Give us 1 week. I can't do that, the judge said. The law is the law. No, 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 no. This couldn't be happening, Your Honor, a voice said. Mrs. Whitaker stood. I'd like to pay the remaining $12. The courtroom went silent. Silas stared at his mother. Mother, what are you? I'm paying the debt, she said. Firm. Walk to the front, set $12 on the judge's bench. That makes $127. Full payment. The contract is fulfilled, Mother. Silas stood. You can't. I just did. She looked at her son. This is over, Silas. Let it go, but let it go. The judge picked up the money, counted it. $127, he said. Full payment received. He looked at Silas. Your claim is satisfied. Case dismissed. The gavel came down. Linnea's knees gave out. Callan caught her. It's over, he breathed. It's over. She clung to him, shaking, crying. It was over. Outside the courthouse, Mrs. Whitaker waited. Linnea walked to her. Thank you, she said. I don't know why you did that. But thank you. I did it, Mrs. Whitaker said. Because you reminded me what courage looks like. And because my son needed to learn that you can't own people, no matter what the law says. She looked at Silas. Ho stood on the courthouse steps, alone, defeated. He'll be fine, Mrs. Whitaker said. Eventually. But you'll be better than fine. You'll be happy. She walked away. Linnea watched her go, then turned to Callan. Let's go home, she said. Home, he repeated, smiled. Yes, let's go home. They rode back to the mountain that afternoon, all 4 of them. Linnea on Clover, Callan on the gray. Ash and Briar riding double, talking, lawing, excited. The cabin appeared at sunset, smoke rising from the chimney. Lights in the windows. Home. Linnea dismounted, stood there looking at it. Her home. For real now. No debt, no obligation. Just home. Mama. Briar tugged her hand. Come on. Coming, sweetheart. They went inside. The cabin smelled like pine and coffee and wood smoke. Perfect. That night they had supper together. Stew, bread, nothing fancy. But it tasted like heaven. After the children were in bed, Callan found Linnea on the porch. Their spot. He sat beside her. You're home, he said. I'm home. For good this time. For good. He took her hand. I meant what I said. He said, in town. I love you. I know, she said. I love you too. We're going to be all right, he said. The 4 of us. We're going to be all right, I know, she said again. And she did. She knew. Spring came to the mountain. The snow melted. The flowers bloomed. The world turned green. Linnea stood in the garden, planting seeds, her hands in the dirt, the sun warm on her back. Inside the cabin, she could hear the children. Ash reading to Briar, Callan at his workbench. Carving something, always carving, she stood. Wiped her hands, looked at the cabin, her home, her family, her life. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy, but it was real. And real was everything, Mama, Briar called from the door. Come see what Papa made. Coming, sweetheart. She walked to the cabin. Inside, Callan held something small. A carving, a bird. No, a family of birds. 4 of them. Nested together. It's beautiful, Linnea said. It's us. He said. She looked at him, at the children. At this life they'd built. From nothing. From rejection. From pain. They'd built something beautiful. Yes, she said. It's us. That night, after the children were asleep, Linnea stood at the window, looking at the stars, thinking about the train platform, the rejection, the fear, the man who'd walked across the street and changed everything. Callan came up behind her, put his arms around her. Regrets? He asked. None, she said, leaned back into him. You? Not a single one, not even when I was difficult. Especially then, he said, kissed her temple. That's when I knew you'd stay. She turned in his arms, looked up at him. I'm not going anywhere, she said. Promise? Promise. He kissed her. Soft, deep, forever. Outside, the mountain breathed. The stars wheeled, the forest sang its night songs. And inside the cabin, inside the warm light, 4 people slept, save loved home. 10 years later, the cabin had grown, 2 more rooms, a proper barn, a garden that fed them through winter. Ash was 21 now, tall, as his father strong. Cundand, working his own plot of land a mile down the mountain. Briar was 16, teaching at the town school. Engaged to the blacksmith's son, Happy, and Linnea. Linnea stood on the porch she'd sat on 1,000 times, watching the sunset. Her hair had threads of it gray now. Her hands had calluses. Her face had lines. But her eyes were bright. Callan came out. Older, too. Grayer, slower, but still here. Still steady. Come inside, he said. Supper's ready, you cooked? I tried, he said, smiled. It's edible. Barely. She laughed, took his hand. They went inside. Together, the way they always had, the way they always would. And somewhere in the distance, a train whistle full blew. Another train, another platform. Another woman stepping off into the unknown, into the possibility, into the chance. That maybe, just maybe, she'd find her mountain too. The end.